Hey buddies, welcome back, Cheap Card Gamer. Before I dive into this new episode, I want to give just a real quick explanation of where I've been for a little while because it's been quite some time. Believe it or not, and if you don't remember hearing me say this, my actual full-time job that I do for a living is I am an administrator and teacher at a high school. And as you might expect, doing that in the 2020 and 2021 school year has been quite an adventure, let's put it that way. I know there are many people listening to this who have had, let's just say, an interesting last 12 months, and my job has been no exception to that. And so I've had to kind of put this show a little bit on the back burner in order to sort of process and take care of business, so to speak. But I just wanted to say that that's what's been going on recently. The show, my plans are to continue with everything that I've talked about. Just wanted to give a quick update. As always, I want to say thank you to everybody who listens to the show. I really appreciate that a lot. It means a lot to me. I'm going to keep talking about card games because I just like doing that. So thank you for checking in. Just want to give a heads up on what's going on. Now we'll drive into this episode. What in heaven's name is going on with card games? Specifically relating to the prices. If you're paying attention to card games across the board, prices are going insanely high. Why is this happening? What is going on here? Well, first of all, let me back up. All right, let me back up. Take a deep breath. I have a tendency, if you listen to the show, you know I may have a tendency to exaggerate things a little bit. I know it's hard to believe. Okay, I might be exaggerating a little bit. Prices haven't gone insane on every single card game, but they have gone up across the board for the most part on a lot of games. Just to demonstrate, this is real. This is truly happening. If you have not noticed, I'll go with some. There are some games that are still ongoing that prices have gone up, and then there are some dead games that prices have gone up. I'll use, for example, Lord of the Rings, made by Decipher, Lord of the Rings trading card game. Starter decks, singles, any sealed product has gone pretty much doubled in price over the last 12 to 14 months. Even the cheapest things, even the ones that are least valuable, are still double what they used to be, even in just the last 12 months. Dragon Ball Z trading card game. I'm talking about the one that was made by Panini. It was canceled. Oh gosh, they announced that it was canceled maybe like 4 years ago, and as recently as like 2 years ago, you could get some booster boxes for that game for like $10. I remember Dave Adams Card World was selling a pallet of those boxes where they were maybe like less than $10 each. And you know, that seems like a crazy deal now because some of those same boxes have been selling for $50 or more. That is an insane jump in 12 months to go from $10 to $50. And that's consistent. That's not just one sold listing. That's numerous sales. Pokemon, okay, man, I don't know. If you haven't been living under a rock, then you know that Pokemon has gone insane. People, and it doesn't matter what you have, even current products, some of them were selling out quickly and selling for double MSRP or whatever they call it these days. That's crazy. Old cards have been increasing in value. Everything's been increasing in value when it comes to Pokemon, it seems like. I'll give you another current one as an example. Legend Story Studios, Flesh and Blood trading card game. I actually did a review of Flesh and Blood on this channel not too long ago. Let me give you a little bit of insight behind that. First of all, let me give a shout out real quick to Legend Story Studios because They were so supportive of me when I reached out and said, hey, look, I would like to try out your game, take a look at this, and do an episode on the show. They were so supportive. First of all, they sent me a whole bunch of product. It came all the way from New Zealand, of course, is where they are based. I'm in the U.S., and so I'm sure it cost them a little bit to send me a bunch of free stuff. And it was cool. Listen to that episode. I had a good time with the game. But anyway, I'm always thankful to publishers, developers that are very supportive of content creators. I just think things like that are necessary to move the industry, to bring people into the hobby of card gaming. And so very appreciative to them for that. That game has exploded in popularity over the last year or so, I would say. When they sent me the materials to try out the game, they sent me several of the IRA welcome decks, which you'll remember are like the free demo decks, basically, to try out the game. They also sent me a couple of the base set starter decks and a couple other little things here and there, a few booster packs and a couple other things. Those, as I mentioned, free, literally free demo decks that they sent. And a matter of fact, for a long time, you could get these from Team Covenant. You could actually just sign up and put your name on a list to receive these for free. All you had to do was pay the shipping. There was a lot, my understanding is that there was a lot of hobby and gaming stores around the world that actually got boxes of these demo decks, and you could just go to the shop, and if they had them, you could get it for free. It's to test out the game. And so these were being given away. If you check recent listings for IRA welcome decks for Flesh and Blood trading card game, you'll see sold listings for $60 very recently. That is insane. That is certifiable. That is very crazy. Oh, by the way, if you listen to that episode, you'll know that I did a giveaway for a lot of that stuff. I gave away 4 of those to some happy listener. Thank you guys for taking part in that. I hope you're enjoying that now. Hopefully I don't know if you're playing with them or selling them, but either way, I hope you're having a good day. That's crazy, guys. That is $60 for a free demo deck. And if you look across the board, now that is a highly collectible game. Prices and values are just skyrocketing for Flesh and Blood. So if you had not bought into it already, man, if you bought into it before, you are living a good life these days. But if not, man, just know that it's going to cost you a little bit to collect some of those things. You can still get sealed product for newer sets for reasonable amounts, but just be careful. This leads me to the next question, though. Why is this happening? Why are prices of these games that were traditionally reasonable, if not extremely cheap, going really high all of a sudden? Well, there's a lot of different reasons, and so I'll get into those and just list out, because there's several. It's not one or two things. Anybody who tells you it's just one or two things that have happened, I don't think that is true at all. There's been several things that happened. It's the perfect storm that's created this situation. The first one is a reason that a lot of people will point to, and it's legitimate. Logan Paul, people like Logan Paul and Rudy from Alpha Investments there are others, but those are some of the key ones, do have a huge impact on the market for these games. When Logan Paul opens a bunch of booster boxes and he's got, 2 million followers or some crazy, I don't know. When he opens that booster box and, so many people see that, so many people are following, liking, watching, then they say, man, I want to do that. I'm going to open a pack of Pokemon cards and see if I can get some followers. And, I remember Pokemon cards. Like, let me check that out, right? So it makes waves on the market. That really was not in vogue for a long time. And then now all of a sudden, everybody's opening stuff up on their channel. I remember you could have to scrounge around to see box and pack openings of particular games. Now it's like everybody's doing it, trying to get their channel on board. So There's definitely been an impact made by that. Same for Rudy from Alpha Investments. Now, he's not just a Magic guy, right? He talks about a lot of games, and he talks about investing in that. And you pay close attention to what he says. Whether he says a game is not worth investing in or it is worth investing in, it makes waves on the secondary market. Because if he says that it's not, I've watched videos of his where he says, oh, this game isn't worth it, don't pour your money into this. And then people will comment and say, oh, he's saying that because he wants people to sell all their stuff and then he's going to swoop in and buy it. So, I'm smarter than that. I know, I see what he's doing. I'm going to buy the stuff up. So whether they go one way or another, because of what Rudy says, a lot of people are making decisions and buying stuff up. So the people like that, content creators like that, have made a huge impact on the market. But that is far from the only impact that's been made. A lot of people have had, let's just say, a lot of extra time at home over the last 12 to 14 months. And some of that time has been spent investing in hobbies. Think about it. If you're not able to go out and play with a group of friends that you were normally able to do, and that's something that you normally did regularly before, and now all of a sudden you're not able to do that, and for like 12 months maybe you're not able to do that, and you're not able to go to your local gaming store and get games in that maybe you used to do and you used to invest in. Well, you've got the money that you used to put into those things, you've got the time that you used to put into those things, and you've also got the energy. You're going to do something. So what are you going to do? A lot of people are looking around. They're dusting off their shelves of old collections and saying, "Oh, let me take another look at this game again." Or they're looking on eBay and seeing, "Oh, well, I wonder how much a booster box of this I can get it for." And so they're going out and they're investing in those things. Or maybe they're just playing with their significant other to say, "Man, there's only so much we can do. There's 2-player games, and so." We're going to start playing these games again and like, oh man, I wonder what it would cost to get more cards for this. And so there's a lot of people investing in those that weren't investing in those before because of the circumstances. Maybe they're looking at that. Now, another part of that is the stimulus checks that have gone out. Now, I'm speaking from a United States perspective. I don't know how this has gone around the rest of the world. And you say, wait a minute, are you telling me that people got stimulus checks and are putting that money into card games? Well, here's what I can say for a fact from my experience. I've been selling a lot of video games and card games on eBay fairly consistently for the last few years. For probably, maybe 5 or 6 years. And there is a whole heap of stuff that I have been consistently relisting for 5 years and not able to sell it. All of a sudden, in the last 12 months, much of that stuff has not only sold, but it's sold for way more than what I had it listed for like 3 or 4, 5 years. And now all of a sudden, it was able to sell over the last 12 to 14 months. I found that a little bit shocking at first because I was like, wait a minute, we're in pandemic and people are buying old video games and card games, and not only are they buying them, but they're spending like twice as much as they used to be listed for. And that has consistently been my experience, and I've heard a lot of people say the same. So people were ready to spend. They're cooped up at home. They want to do something. This is where you get your entertainment from, and a lot of people are doing that. There's other reasons at play in making these prices go up across the board. One is old games are now more accessible than they were back in the day because of the growth of things like Discord, Twitch, gaming on webcam being pretty much readily available to anyone. Think about it. Back in the 90s, early 2000s, if you had a card game that you were into, but your friends weren't into it, you had a couple of options there. You could buy all the stuff and try to get somebody into it, or you could go to a local place somewhere where hopefully there was other people playing the game and you could play with them. And that was it. But if you didn't have that, then you just didn't get to play it. If you didn't get to play it, you probably weren't buying it. And this is why so many games died quickly along the way, because you can only play so many games. There are only so many people who are playing different games. But that's not the way it is nowadays. I mean, you could go search anything on Discord. You can find a Facebook group for just about any game. You can find the most obscure game out there. You can find somebody who's interested in it. And you can set up your webcam and play a game with them online if you want to. You can watch somebody on Twitch who's playing these games. You can watch anything through the use of these technologies has opened the door for everybody to get involved with a community who plays the game that they love. That's not the way it was in the 90s, early 2000s, but that is the way it is now. So it kind of opens the door for some of these more obscure games to be played. All of this has created a bit of a domino effect, okay? So here's the thing. Once you get some of this happening with, maybe Pokemon was one of the main culprits, right, early on. And then Legend Story with Flesh and Blood, and it was growing in popularity. There was more players who were coming on board. Now people are looking at it saying like, oh man, I got all this product for this game. I wonder if this is going to go up. And then more people buying on eBay and buying on secondary market. And then what it does is it pushes the price up, because then somebody else sees that box sell for $50 that used to be $10, and they say, oh, wait a minute, I've got a few of these sitting around. Let me just see, I'll just lift it at 50 and see if I can get 60. Maybe somebody will buy. And so somebody does inevitably. And then it just pushes everything. And somebody who has, some other old game, if somebody has Simpsons trading card game, is seeing all these other card games go up in price, and they're like, man, I wonder if this is going up in price. And you know what? If somebody will buy it, then it will. And there's a domino effect across the board. Then people are thinking, oh man, all collectibles are going up, so the ones that I have are going up. And so let me see if I can sell, or let me see if I can buy. Maybe I can see if I can buy and sell, if I can flip them. So that brings me to the next point. In these times of craziness and uncertainty, I think some people, especially on the collecting and investment side of things, are seeing this as an economic investment. They're seeing card games, really any collectibles, I should say, as an economic investment potential. And they're saying, well, man, there's a limited amount of these things, and if I invest in this now, there may be even less of these moving forward. Maybe this is an investment that I can make that is a tangible, physical product that can be sold at some time later. I can flip it and make money now, or I can hold on to it for a while and maybe make a lot more money. Look at what's happening in other games, and maybe I can do this with this game. And so there is a lot of investments being made. And let's be honest, Team Covenant did a really great podcast episode, a Covenant Cast, which, by the way, if you're not listening to Team Covenant on their podcast or watching their videos of their games, man, they are awesome. Shout out to those guys. I've had so much fun watching and listening to their content over the last several years. But they did one recently where they talked about, a lot of people don't have confidence in their country's economic systems right now. And, that can happen to currencies, and different things can happen that make money worth less and things like that. And so people are seeing, hey, what can I invest in from an economic standpoint that maybe is a little bit more stable? It's a better outlook. Now, look, I am not an economist. I don't know a lot about any of that. All I'm trying to do is find an explanation for what is going on with the prices on card games. So all of those reasons have contributed across the board on prices going up. The question now is, what's going to happen next? Well, what do I do? Maybe I have some stuff, maybe I want more stuff. What are we supposed to do next? Well, my first advice would be, don't sell everything you have immediately. I know a lot of people say, well, this is a bubble and it's going to come back down, so sell right now, get as much as you can. I would strongly advise against that. And first of all, let me say, we're all guessing. Nobody knows the future. But here's why I would advise against that philosophy. Think about the nature of what we have here with these physical products. And as I mentioned, one of the big popular things right now is these unboxing videos, right? Every time one of those products is open, there's less out there. Now, some of this has been mass produced to death so that there's so much stuff out there that it's just going to take a lot of opening product to add any type of tangible scarcity to what we're talking about. However, the nature of these things means that as time goes on, there is going to be less and less. There's no more produced, right? There is no more base set Pokemon cards being produced these days. What's out there is out there. And every time somebody opens a pack, opens a box, whatever, there is one less available of sealed product. And I should mention that happens to singles as well. There's less and less. Something gets bent, something gets lost, something that gets thrown away by accident. There is less and less as time goes on. And so to think, well, this is going to go away. Maybe is the bubble going to burst a little bit? I could see some of that in certain cases, but here's what happens with these brands and these intellectual properties. Over time, the ones that last continue to be valuable, right? So like there's always going to be people who care about Star Wars. There's always going to be people who care about Lord of the Rings. There's always going to be people who care about Pokemon, Dragon Ball. These things have stood the test of time. Now, I shouldn't say, I don't know. Who knows? 50 years in the future, maybe, I don't know if that's going to be the case. But I suspect that it will. And so those things there's always going to be people interested in those things to go back and say like, oh man, look at this thing that was made in the 90s or early 2000s. And like, that would be a really cool thing to own, a cool collectible thing to have. Don't sell everything immediately. You will remember, if you are a longtime listener here, that I said in July of 2020, at that time, it was Transformers trading card game that had just been announced that it was no longer in production. And that was not long. That was not long after Star Wars Destiny had just stopped being in production. And I think it was Super Card Buddy Fight, maybe. It was one of those Japanese style games that also got canceled around that time. And my advice was, don't go out and sell all your stuff right away, because a lot of people would be doing that. And actually, that is, after the game is canceled, there's so many people that dump their stuff. That is one of the best times to buy. Man, first let me say, you're welcome. You're welcome for that advice. Hopefully you are one of the ones who bought into that stuff, because now is going to be the time when it accelerates. And if that stuff ever has any value, now's going to be the time where it starts to gain traction. It usually takes about a year or two. I haven't seen it quite happen yet with Star Wars Destiny. And some of those other games are still waiting on it. It'll be a few years before you start to see that. And then you'll see the real collectors and people investing start to try to look at it and say like, all right, man, now there's no more people dumping this stuff, but there are more people wanting this stuff. And that's when the prices start to go up. So again, I'm not giving you financial advice. This is all purely speculation. We're all just guessing, but do not sell everything you have immediately if you can wait. Now, a lot of people are like, nah, man, I need this money and I'm just seeing dollar signs and I got to get it. Okay, I understand. I've done the same thing at times before, and that makes sense. But if you can wait, I think it's a good idea to not sell immediately. If you do see somebody who's doing that, then it's a good opportunity to jump in on the stuff that they're getting rid of at a low cost. Although I would say there's probably not too many people giving you real big bargains on that these days. What else though? We just don't have any cheap card games anymore? Is that how it works? Like we can't play card games for cheap anymore? That is simply not true. I talked on this show recently. I did an episode comparing the living card game or expandable card game, whatever you want to call that, to trading card game, where, just for an explanation there, trading card, collectible card game is you're buying booster boxes and getting randomized packs. Living card game, or sometimes called expandable card games, is you're getting a whole collection when you buy a box or a base set, and then you get expansion boxes that have all the cards. There are a lot of those living card game formats that can still be cheap. Now, right now, that's the case right now. Might not always be the case. But for example, you could buy a base set of L5R, which I think is a beautiful and very interesting game. I haven't played it myself, but it looks really cool. I saw a core set box for that on sale on Amazon for $14 the other day. Back in the day, that used to retail for $35 to $40. You can routinely get that for less than $20. Fun game, and there's a lot of expansions that you can get for not very much money too. That's a lot of cards for not much money. It's beautiful, fun, engaging game. You can get some cheap games for good. Sticking with these expandable card games, Star Wars card game. Now, the core set is harder to find. This is out of print. It's no longer being made. You might have to pay $50 or $60 for the core set, but you can get a lot of the expansions for $5 or $6. You can find them pretty cheap. Now, if you're buying a collection secondhand from somebody, which there are people selling, you can get these for a very reasonable price. A ton of cards. Again, an enduring license. This is Star Wars we're talking about. A lot of cards, fun game. It is doable. Call of Cthulhu is another one that was made by FFG. And now again, it's out of print. The base set, you're probably going to be spending about $60 or $70, but there are some cheaper expansions. Check the secondary market. You can get some good deals on that. There's also these cooperative card games that it's amazing. A lot of people are having so much fun with these. There's still a ton of people that haven't tried them. Arkham Horror, Marvel Champions, you can find these for pretty cheap. You can find the base set for, around $30, pretty common. And, that's not bad. To try out a game for $30, you're doing good. You're going to be hard-pressed to find any trading card game where you can have a good, fun experience for $30. You're talking about maybe buying a couple of starter decks if there is such a thing. That's not a bad investment. And then also you always have with these living card games and board game style card games, you can always find somebody to sell that back to and recoup most of your money on that. Now with a starter deck for trading card game, you can't always do that, but there is still a lot of fun that you can have for cheap for now. But you just got to take a look around and see what you're buying. Good stuff can be found. Speaking of good stuff, there's a lot of interesting games that you can find on Kickstarter these days. I know a lot of people hear that and be like, Kickstarter, man. Okay, do your homework. Look at what you're investing in. There is a delay and you might have to buy something and then, it's going to be a little while. But also don't be afraid to look at completed Kickstarters for like older products. A lot of times you can still buy those on the creator or publisher developers website. You can buy the successful Kickstarter programs, the games, at the Kickstarter price. They still have them available on their store. There's a lot of games out there. There's good games. One example being Evian that I did a review for last year. Awesome game. You could buy that base set for, I think it's $60 it retails for them. It's either 40 or 60, but either way, the amount of cards that you get in that and the amount of playing that you can do with that is unbelievable. And for that price is just an incredible value. So don't be afraid to check Kickstarter. There's a lot of really good stuff on there. So I think here's what I'd come away from this whole experience with. It can be, I do think this is mostly here to stay. The investment and the prices going up generally, maybe not completely across the board, but generally that increase I think is here to stay for the most part. It's going to gradually stay the same or maybe continue to increase a little bit as time goes on. It's just the nature of rarity and supply and demand. There's no more supply. There's less and less. And if there are people who still care about these products, then that price is going to continue to go up. I'm not giving any investment advice here. I'm just telling you my best guesses on this. I would not expect those prices to come back down a great amount. I just don't think, I think those days are gone, just to be honest. Now, I will say there is a lot of, committees that are making new sets for old games and things like that. There are influences that are impacting, when they're making new stuff, makes people want to go out and get the old stuff sometimes. And so I just generally see this as a trend that will continue. It's not a bubble that's going to go away and the prices go back down. I personally just don't think that is going to happen. However, it's not the end of playing fun card games for a low price. That's what I still intend on doing. There's a bunch of those games like I listed I want to check out still. Hopefully that you are able to find something to do that with. Hey, maybe you have a collection that you might want to investigate selling. Maybe you want to hold on to it, see how things go for the next 6 to 12 months and see maybe, I don't know, maybe this would be worth a lot of money someday. I think there are even some current and new games that are really fun and worth checking out. This makes a current game seem like a much better value, right? Because you say, well, wait a minute, I could buy this old stuff for 5 times MSRP, or I can buy a new ongoing game, and maybe when I'm able to get involved, if I'm able to get involved with a local community, I can do that now for less of a cost comparatively than what it used to be. So there's a lot to consider here, but I guess all I will say to sum this up is take stock of what you have. If you have a collection, you need to be checking prices. You need to be checking to see if, man, is now the time to sell? Maybe not. It might be worth waiting. If you were looking at buying into something, just be careful, gauge your prices. But it's always good to be keeping an eye on these things and know what is going on. I will say that it's been very interesting. It's been a lot of fun to see what's going on with it. Sometimes a lot of panic, but just remember, hopefully all your eggs are not in this card game basket, right? From a financial standpoint. If that's you, then this can be a very stressful time. But if you're still having fun with it, if you're playing with these games, then just enjoy the ride, and I hope that it ends up well for you, whatever that means, whether it's having fun or making some money. I hope everybody is able to have a good experience with that who's listening to this. All right, thank you guys for checking in. I appreciate you listening. I will see you next time.